In the dusty corridors of Cairo's Egyptian Museum, behind reinforced glass, lies one of archaeology's most haunting discoveries. A mummy whose mouth is frozen open in what appears to be an eternal, agonizing scream. But here's where this mystery gets truly fascinating. There isn't just one screaming mummy. There are two separate discoveries, both equally terrifying, both shrouded in dark secrets that have puzzled Egyptologists for over a century. The first discovery shook the archaeological world in 1881, when French Egyptologist Gaston Maspero and his team uncovered what would become known as the Royal Cache at Deir el-Bahari, a massive tomb complex hidden in the cliffs near Luxor. Among the carefully preserved bodies of Egypt's greatest pharaohs, Ramses II, Seti I, and Thutmose III, they found something that didn't belong. Wrapped not in fine linen like the other royal mummies, but in crude sheepskin, was the contorted body of a man whose face was locked in a horrific scream. The ancient Egyptians considered sheepskin impure, reserved only for the most despised criminals. This mummy's hands and feet were bound with leather thongs, and unlike the others, he hadn't been properly mummified at all. Instead, his body had simply been left to dry in natron salt, with resin poured into his gaping mouth. The message was clear. This person had died in disgrace, but someone had ensured his preservation, trapping him in death's most agonizing moment. For decades, this unknown man remained one of Egyptology's greatest puzzles, until DNA analysis in the early 2000s revealed a shocking truth. The screaming mummy was none other than Prince Pentawere, son of the mighty pharaoh Ramses III, who had attempted to murder his own father in one of ancient history's most documented conspiracies. The Harem conspiracy of 1155 BC reads like a palace thriller. Tai, one of Ramses III's secondary wives, orchestrated an elaborate plot to place her son Pentawere on the throne, instead of the rightful heir, Ramses IV. She recruited officials throughout the palace, from pantry chiefs to treasury overseers, creating a network of conspirators who smuggled messages and planned the assassination during the beautiful festival of the valley, when the commotion would mask their activities. The conspiracy succeeded, partially. Recent forensic analysis of Ramses III's mummy revealed that his throat had been slashed with such force that it severed his trachea and major blood vessels. But the conspirators were caught, tried, and executed. According to the Judicial Papyrus of Turin, which documented the entire trial, Pentawere was left to take his own life, likely meaning he was forced to commit suicide by hanging rather than face the humiliation of public execution. The evidence matches the mummy perfectly. Forensic examination revealed ligature marks around unknown man E's neck, confirming the hanging. His disgraceful burial in sheepskin and his preservation in the royal cache suggests a complex aftermath. Officially disgraced, but perhaps secretly mourned by someone with enough power to ensure his body would survive eternity, frozen in his final moments of terror and regret. But the story doesn't end there. In 1935, nearly 60 years after the discovery of unknown man E, archaeologists from the Metropolitan Museum of New York uncovered another screaming mummy during excavations at Deir el-Bahari. This time, it was a woman, her mouth stretched wide in what appeared to be an eternal shriek, discovered in the tomb complex of Senenmut, the architect of Queen Hatshepsut. For decades, this screaming woman was dismissed as the result of poor mummification techniques. Perhaps embalmers had simply failed to close her mouth properly before burial. But in 2024, a team led by Dr. Sahar Salim from Cairo University used cutting-edge CT scans, infrared imaging, and scanning electron microscopy to peer beneath her ancient wrappings and uncover the truth. What they discovered contradicted everything experts thought they knew about ancient Egyptian burial practices. Despite retaining all her internal organs, typically removed during mummification, the woman had been preserved using the most expensive materials available: frankincense and juniper resin imported from distant lands, luxuries that would have cost a fortune in ancient times. This wasn't neglect. This was a deliberate, costly preservation process that followed different rules. The CT scans revealed she was approximately 48 years old when she died, suffered from arthritis and dental problems, and stood about 5 feet tall. But most shocking of all was Dr. Salim's conclusion about her expression. The woman's screaming face wasn't the result of careless embalmers. It was a cadaveric spasm, a rare condition where muscles lock instantly at the moment of death, usually associated with extreme physical or emotional trauma. In other words, she died screaming, and her muscles locked in that position so quickly that not even the most skilled embalmers could alter her expression. Her final moment of agony was preserved for eternity, creating a time capsule of whatever horrific event claimed her life 3,500 years ago. The implications are chilling. Unlike Prince Pentawere, whose screaming mummy was the result of political execution and deliberate disgrace, the screaming woman appears to have been someone important enough to afford the most expensive mummification available. Yet she died in circumstances so traumatic that her body couldn't escape the memory. The fact that she was found in Senenmut's family tomb suggests she was likely a close relative of Queen Hatshepsut's architect, making her death even more mysterious. Recent technological advances have allowed researchers to digitally unwrap these mummies without damaging the physical remains, revealing details that earlier Egyptologists could never have imagined. Both screaming mummies tell stories of lives that ended in terror, but for vastly different reasons. One represents the consequences of political betrayal and patricide, while the other hints at a personal tragedy that we may never fully understand. The preservation of these mummies, one wrapped in impure sheepskin as punishment, the other carefully preserved with precious resins despite her disturbing expression, reveals the complex relationship ancient Egyptians had with death, justice, and memory. They understood that how someone died was as important as how they lived, and they used mummification not just to preserve the body, but to preserve the story. These discoveries also highlight how modern technology continues to revolutionize our understanding of ancient Egypt. DNA analysis identified Prince Pentawere decades after his discovery, while advanced imaging revealed the screaming woman's true cause of death nearly 90 years after she was found. Each breakthrough raises new questions about what other secrets lie hidden beneath ancient wrappings. The screaming mummies of Egypt serve as haunting reminders that even in death, the ancient Egyptians found ways to preserve not just bodies, but the very moments of their final breath. Whether through political execution or personal tragedy, these two individuals were frozen in time at their most vulnerable moments, creating mysteries that continue to captivate and terrify us thousands of years later. What makes these discoveries even more remarkable is that they represent just a fraction of the mysteries still hidden in Egypt's archaeological record. The royal cache alone contained over 50 mummies, and new tombs are still being discovered today. Each mummy tells a story, but few speak as loudly or as hauntingly as those whose final expressions refuse to be silenced by time. As we continue to develop new technologies for studying ancient remains, we're likely to uncover even more shocking revelations about how these people lived and died. The screaming mummies remind us that behind every archaeological discovery lies a human story, sometimes beautiful, sometimes tragic, but always profoundly moving in its connection across millennia.